Good morning, students. Today we are studying the last part of the human reproduction chapter, that is the post-fertilization event. So post-fertilization, I hope you remember, from zygote till the development of fetus, that is the embryogenesis also we are including in that. So we are seeing all these aspects, and in case of humans we are also adding the pregnancy period also. So let us recall what was done in your earlier topics. We had studied about the reproductive systems, the reproductive organ. The structure is clearly understood. The gametogenesis, we are talking about spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Then your menstrual cycle. So in your menstrual cycle, we are talking about your very important 4 phases. In that, I want to highlight the ovulatory phase, because that is the one which, very important phase. After release of ovum, it will wait for fertilization. So fertilization is your fusion of haploid sperm nucleus with the haploid nucleus of the ovum. Now, recalling what is that ovum, I have told ovulation process is the release of secondary oocyte. So secondary oocyte has the corona radiata, zona pellucida as the wall layers around it. So when the sperm comes in contact, so when I say sperm comes in contact, there is a lifetime for the secondary oocyte, that is 24 hours. So for 24 hours, this ovum can wait in this particular location. Okay, it can wait in this particular location. The location is termed as ampullary isthmic junction. Okay, so at this area it will fertilize. So the sperms will enter through the insemination process. Sperm has 72 hours of lifespan. Remember this, whatever I am giving the lifespan is an extra information for you to know. So you have to remember, once the sperms meet, what happens? Immediately the wall layer, the membrane of the ovum changes so that other sperms are not allowed to enter, as well as your secondary oocyte is completing to divide large ovum and a small polar body. Okay, so just recalling, you had secondary oocyte with a small polar body. This polar body also divides to produce the 2 equal polar bodies. So how many are there now, polar bodies? 1, 2, 3. These are non-functional in nature, but it has some role in certain cases, like formation of fertilization cone during the fertilization process, okay, as well as in signaling because of its genetic material. Okay, after that, after its work is done, then it dies off. This is the very important one which we talk about, the functional ovum. Only when the sperms come in contact with the secondary oocyte will divide to produce your ovum. Okay, so large ovum, functional ovum, or the large ooted, which has become functional ovum. In case of other animals, the ooted has to go certain processes which we call it as vitellogenesis, that is your yolk formation. Here we don't require, in humans yolk is not required. That's why it is, the ooted is only direct the functional ovum. Okay, if you compare with spermatogenesis, you have spermatid non-functional, which will develop into sperms that are functional. Here in case of oogenesis, secondary oocyte will produce large ooted, which is the functional ovum. Okay, and a small polar body. I hope it is clear. Any doubts, let me know. So I was talking about after fertilization, what will happen. So we are studying that today. That is your post fertilization event. Okay, so you can see, once it has fertilized, it forms a zygote, and this zygote will undergo equal divisions. When I say equal division, mitosis. So this particular zygote, I'm talking about zygote, which is diploid in number, will divide to produce equal cells, daughter cells, which are diploid again. So that is what is happening here. You can see 2, 4 cells and more than 4. To make you more clear, I'll just show you here. We are studying about the zygote, which is fertilized egg. So it undergoes the mitosis. So mitosis is your equational division. I repeat, zygote undergoes mitosis, which is another term we give it as cleavage. Why cleavage? Because they are still together, the cells are still together. Mitosis means the cells will separate. That's why we give the term cleavage. So you can see the cleavage. First cleavage leads to the formation of 2 cells. Second cleavage 4 cells. Then 8 cell. Okay, like that it will go on up till 16 cell, which is called as morula. So 8 to 16 is morula. And then after morula stage you will find the blastocyst. So early, late stage. Once the blastocyst is completely formed, then the implantation process begins. So you can observe here, there is your embedding of the blastocyst. So this is your embryo itself, the second stage of embryo. Embryo second stage, division, it is, I can't tell you about the division because many number of cells are there in this. So this is first division, second division, third division, you are easily able to identify because of the easily countable cells. After that, the blastocyst, there are many cells, more than 100. Okay, that's why. So I can say the blastocyst is the second stage of embryo. Morula is the first stage of embryo. Okay. Then there is your implant. So just please note all this. Your terms are there: cleavage, then there is morula, then there is blastocyst, implantation. Okay, so these terms are occurring now. Let us understand the post-fertilization events. So as the zygote moves through isthmus, now where is that isthmus? This region close to the uterus is isthmus. So ampullary isthmic junction is here, and as it moves towards the isthmus, we are talking about how the changes also occur in zygote. So as it moves, what happens to the zygote? Remember, I am using the term zygote, not the egg. Zygote undergoes mitotic division. So that mitotic division is called as cleavage. Okay, and each daughter cell, so imagine this is a zygote, divides to form, they are very close to each other. Okay, daughter cells. Now this is your zygote. Now these daughter cells are called as blastomeres. Okay, the result of cleavage produces blastomeres. Cleavage of what? Zygote. Clear? So how the cleavage occurs? 2 celled, 4 celled, 8 cell, 16 cell, and so on it goes on. Okay, so we are giving a phase when the blastomeres have the count of 8 to 16 cells, then the stage is called morula. So this is your first stage of embryo. This is the process of division. So we are saying the celled stages. So once 16 up to 16 blastomeres, especially 8 to 16, in some cases in some books you will refer it as 32 cell. No problem, you can include that. So in your textbook they have given as up till 16 blastomeres, the stage will be called as morula. So it is like a loosely arranged clump. Okay, but they are close to each other. And this morula is the one which will again divide many times to finally form blastocyst. Blastocyst is the second stage of embryo. So we are studying your cleavage, you can observe. So as you see, you can observe even there is your polar body shown. This is a polar body. Extra information, this diagram is not needed, only to get the picture. Okay, just observe there is something around it. So there is your one protective layer, and we are talking about your one thin layer. Okay, a thin layer which is your zona pellucida. You remember zona pellucida? It is your one layer, a strong layer that is required to protect the secondary oocyte and allows only for one sperm to enter. Once the sperm is entered, it will not allow any other sperm to enter. So the changes will occur. So that's what we can observe here. Since the labeling is not shown, I am showing it with the marker here. So here it divides. The first cleavage results to 2 cells. The second cleavage results in 1, 2, 3, fourth one is here. It's dark. So like that it goes on dividing. So you can see here it is up till 16 cells. So it is going this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are saying about the each division. Once the fifth stage is formed, we are saying about the morula stage. This is the morula. After morula, there is again the continuation of division. If you notice, before the blastocyst is formed, a blastula is formed. Observe the name blastula. So in this name blastula, you can find a circle of layers, one single layer of cells, and that is called as your blastoderm, since it is single layer, and inside it is empty. That's why it is seal. You remember coelom? Coelom means cavity. So blastocele. We are talking about blastula having a cavity. So blastocele. So this is the early blastocyst. Remember, there is something missing here. It is the zona pellucida around it. This is only diagrammatic representation. So it is your hollow ball which is cut and shown for you how the section looks like. So this is blastula, okay, which has to undergo certain differentiation to form blastocyst. So blastocyst is the one which has zona pellucida and inner mass of cells as well as one single layer around it. Okay, so this is called as your blastocyst. This is the final one. This is the mass of cells which we say 16 celled embryo, which is called as morula. Okay, so just observe the term. It is called as totipotent, and then you will come to know the term. Just remember totipotent. Totipotent means ability of the cells to produce into whole organism. Whole organism, that is totipotent. You will understand that later on. So whatever these are there, you don't study. This is an taken from the internet source, this diagram, to get you an idea. Only for the idea's sake I have given this. For your better reference of embryogenesis, please refer your textbook diagram that is here. This is the one, and after morula it is shown here. Okay, so you have to show from the fertilization zygote, the division, morula stage, this is the morula stage, then the blastocyst stage. Okay. This is a 3D figure to get you a better idea. So this blastocyst has zona pellucida, the blue color. Okay, and the blastocyst, okay, has an arrangement. So 3 parts you should remember. There is an outer layer called trophoblast, outer single layer of cells. These cells, okay, called as trophoblast. Even the cell name is there, cells of Ruber. Okay, Ruber, not robber, Ruber. That's not important now. In the lab portion you will understand. In laboratory classes you will understand. Practical portion. Then there is your inner cell mass. Now this inner cell mass is the one which will grow into the fetus. Okay, fetus. It will grow into the fetus. I hope you understood. Now there is an empty space. This empty space is called as blastocele. So 3 names you got it: trophoblast, inner cell mass and blastocele. And this blue color, zona pellucida. Okay. There's one thing I want to say. Zona pellucida this is your zona pellucida. It is found in mammals. Zona pellucida in non-mammals, it is called as vitelline membrane. Okay, vitelline membrane. Sorry, I cannot write properly here. I hope you can identify. Let us study, if the question is asked for 1 mark, what is blastocyst, you should be able to answer. So let's study the structure as well as the definition. So blastula, I hope you remember what is blastula, hollow ball of cells. So what is that hollow ball of cells? This is your hollow ball of cells, empty. Blastula along with zona pellucida is called as blastocyst. This blastocyst has an arrangement of blastomeres. So blastomeres, again I am recalling you, whatever each of these cells you can find the blue color as well as the brown color, those are all blastomeres. Okay, so those are blastomeres. The outer layer, single layer of blastomeres form trophoblast, and inner group of cells attached to trophoblast, that is inner cell mass. We are just talking about the structure, not the function. Function you'll understand as one by one we study in detail. So it is outer layer trophoblast, inner cell mass, remember it is inner cell mass, that is it grows into your embryo. This whole structure is your embryo, but this is the one very important for your fetus formation. Fetus, when I say fetus, the young one. So it's clearly shown the structure. If the question is asked, please note there's a correction here. This diagram has the error in the labeling. It is blastocele, C-O-E-L. Okay, seal. The last spelling you just corrected. So this is actually, this is clearly shown. See the number of mass, cell mass, inner cell mass is more. That is what you have to add here. It is less, you can add till here. Okay. So we are saying almost reaching in half. Okay, now we have understood about what is that second stage is. Now again coming back. So this particular fertilization took place, and with the help of certain ciliary movement in the fallopian tube, this zygote is able to be pushed down till the uterine wall. Okay, the ciliary activity is done by the inner epithelium of the fallopian tube. Inner lining, the inner epithelium of fallopian tube is ciliated, so it is able to push, okay, and reach to the uterus. Now we are talking about how this embryo gets implanted or gets penetrated inside the endometrium. So the endometrium is ready, and here you can observe, once it is ready, you can see that finger like projection, that means the endometrium is ready. So as the blastocyst is ready, even blastocyst undergoes certain changes. So can you see this finger like projection? So that is the one, the changes will occur for the complete penetration or embedding of the embryo. So embedding of the blastocyst. So 1 mark question, what is implantation? The process where the blastocyst becomes embedded into the endometrium. Observe here. Let me give you a better idea. So you can find the uterine wall this way, finger-like structures, almost finger-like, okay, and you have your trophoblast. Now this is your trophoblast, right, outer layer. Those will produce finger-like projection. Okay, this finger-like projection has to enter the uterine wall. So how it is? It will match here. So don't you think this is one type of fingers? Let me show in other color. So it is like interdigits. So digit over here, digit, in between another digit comes. So when I say digit, we are talking about finger-like structures. This is all your finger-like structures. So if you bring your fingers, your hand, if you just keep them one, okay, I hope you can identify what I'm trying to say. If this is your finger-like structure, your other hand, you can put your fingers inside this way. So that is what we are saying, interdigited. Interdigited. Okay, so I hope you got that idea. Now you'll understand better. So this is your process asked for 3-mark question. Please be ready about it. Now first you have to know, trophoblast layer is the one which is attached to endometrium. When I say trophoblast layer, okay, see, you observe which side is towards the endometrium, towards where inner cell mass is there. Okay, inner cell mass has to face towards the endometrium for the nourishment. Okay, now what is that nourishment part? Nourishment part is this one. I told you the finger-like structure. Finger-like structure. This forms as a placenta. So the placenta can nourish the inner cell mass. Who is creating that finger-like? The green color is your trophoblast. Trophoblast has produced the finger-like projection so that it can get certain nourishment from the uterine wall. So remember, uterine wall has blood vessels, okay, so it can even give oxygen to it. So placenta you'll understand a little while later. So process you'll understand. Trophoblast layer attached to endometrium. So it's clear, it is not the inner cell mass. Just observe again, the inner cell mass. When I say inner cell mass, this is separate. It is only involved in the embryo development. Observe here, that's what I was trying to say. That is your trophoblast attached here, producing finger-like projection. So you just recalling again, attached to endometrium, whereas inner cell mass differentiates into the embryo. Okay, so inner cell mass gets differentiated into the embryo. What happens after attachment? Uterine cells will divide rapidly. Which uterine cells? Endometrium, the inner wall, and covers the blastocyst. So when I say covers the blastocyst, here it is not shown. It is trying to say it will divide and finally, covers it. A very thin layer, not a thick layer, a very thin layer, so that it will help in embedding. Okay, it will help in embedding. So it will try to cover the blastocyst, hence embedding the endometrium. I hope you got the idea. Now this implantation process is the one which leads to pregnancy. Once implantation is successful, then pregnancy is going to be started. Okay, so I hope it is clear. That is what they have shown, the enlarged portion, how it produces the finger-like projection. So implantation, blastocyst gets embedded in the endometrium. That process is called as implantation. So how the implantation process is? Trophoblast produces finger-like projection that will attach to the endometrium. Inner cell mass will produce into embryo. Okay. So what happens to the uterine wall? It will divide and produce cells to cover the blastocyst. Okay, to cover the blastocyst. Hence their implantation occurs. And once the implantation is successful, your pregnancy begins. So next topic, this can be asked together for 5 marks, which you have to condense and write. I am explaining in detail. This is like once they will ask, otherwise they ask like a part by like 1 mark, 2 mark or 3 mark question. Once they have asked this in preparatory exam, they had asked for 5 mark question. So you should be able to combine the topics and give brief points. Here diagram is not much needed. You should know about this pregnancy. It lasts for 9 months. So you might wonder why there is changes in the certain cases where the delivery is before 9 months. Okay, that is based on the contractions created signal sent by the fetus and the placenta. You'll understand one by one how that happens. So it is based on how all those activities take place, the neural coordination take place, and hence delivery happens earlier. Okay, so you all know about this pregnancy is about 9 months, and that's why we're saying about 9 months. It can be even lesser. So that duration we are saying it has to be gestation period. 1 mark question. So this is your structure given in the textbook, not asked till now for the exams, and it's a complicated diagram for you all. So we are just telling you all, observe what is being told here. You remember I told finger-like projection interdigitating with the trophoblast. Imagine this is trophoblast, this is uterine wall. So this ultimately grows to form placenta. Okay, so you will understand one by one. Now imagine this whatever they have given here, they have shown it at the fundus region. This is a uterine fundus, not important. For you to show this position itself, you can even show this position or even this position. It is how the embryo comes in contact with the endometrium. Immediately it starts the trophoblast. You remember the trophoblast? Trophoblast will start producing the finger-like projection. So it will divide and try to attach to the uterine wall. So here it is towards the fundus region, or it can be to the lateral walls. Anywhere it can, but very risky is at the fundus region. It's a risky one. Okay, let us this is not asked for the exam. Do not worry. Don't go to draw, don't go to practice this diagram. Okay, let me just show you here. Here they have shown it as yolk sac. That yolk sac is very, having a little content of yolk. Yolk is nothing but your nutrient content. It's very minute, so it gets immediately used up and it will disintegrate. Okay, so from the placenta, you have one more cord-like structure which is called as umbilical cord. So remember, this inner uterine wall, okay, this one inner uterine wall which is called as endometrium, it has blood vessels. Okay, it has blood vessels which is shown here. So it checks that the fetus growing gets proper oxygen, there is carbon dioxide removed, and even the waste material is removed. So that is with the help of blood vessels. Umbilical cord is the one which will allow the blood vessels to pass the blood also. Okay, so it consists with the blood vessels. Umbilical cord checks the nutrients transport, the substances to transport to the fetus to the placenta. So it is umbilical cord connects the placenta and the fetus. So there is to and fro movement of substances. So it's clear. Any doubts, let me know. So coming to the pregnancy, we are going a little deeper now. So after implantation, what happens? It leads to pregnancy. So what is that pregnancy? The trophoblast will produce finger-like projection called chorionic villi. So it produces chorionic villi. So as the embryo grows, chorionic villi, let me show you the picture. So as the embryo grows, we call the trophoblast, which is producing that finger-like structure, is called as your chorionic villi. Remember, trophoblast. Okay, this is your layer of trophoblast, which has produced the finger-like projection initially. So as the embryo gets bigger and bigger, even there are finger-like projections produced. This outer layer along with the finger-like projection, we call it as chorion. Okay, since this finger-like projection is needed for the formation of placenta, we call it as chorionic villi. Why villi? Finger-like projection. Villi means finger-like projection. So produce finger-like projections called chorionic villi. So chorion, I told you, trophoblast along with your villi. It is your full chorion itself. Okay, so outer layer is called as chorion later on, not in the blastula. The next stage of embryo. So there is your gastrula, then there is your neurula, which you are not studying here. So at that stage, it is a little bigger sized embryo. So there we are saying the outer layer forms the chorion. So you have understood what that chorionic villi gets surrounded with. The same thing like before, finger-like projection, uterine tissue and maternal blood vessels, okay, surround the chorionic villi. So here you observe, you can see the placental villi. So there is your chorionic villi. Along with the chorionic villi, you will find the maternal, there is your uterine tissue as well as the blood vessels that are vascularizing. Vascularizing means providing nourishment. There is exchange of nourishment, exchange of gases, exchange of excretory waste, removal of excretory waste. So all that is done at the placental villi. Okay, so that is the exchange between the maternal blood and the fetal blood. Okay, exchange between the maternal and fetal blood. So I hope you have understood about that. Chorionic villi and the uterine tissue become interdigitated. So I hope you understood the word interdigitated. Okay, now you have to know, if the question is asked what is placenta, I've redefined the definition here. But before, you have to know what is that. In case you are unable to remember all this, remember it to be the structural and functional unit between the developing embryo and the maternal body. So it is the structural and functional unit of between the developing embryo, which is the fetus, the baby, growing baby, and the mother body. Okay, the mother body. So I hope it is clear here. So this is, we are talking about the structure of placenta. This is a term address we are giving, and we are addressing what placenta is. It is like organic connection between the embryo and the mother. Okay, so what is the definition? I have combined and given here. The chorionic villi and the uterine tissue together form a structural and functional organic structure between the developing embryo and the tissues of the mother. When I say tissues of the mother, you can just write the uterine tissue of the mother. So it's not only uterine, we are talking even about the blood vessels. So it is better you follow this definition. Please, if the question is asked for 1 mark, I want everyone to answer this question. Is that clear? Now coming to the functions of placenta, a very important 3-mark question. First, you should say it facilitates oxygen and nutrients, removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste produced by the embryo. Okay, so oxygen and nutrients are sent to the embryo. What is removed? carbon dioxide and excretory waste. Now who is the one which is giving a channel like structure? Umbilical cord. So umbilical cord will help in the transport of substances to and from embryo. Okay, very important one mark question. Okay, and it is acting as an, this is a function, placenta acts as an endocrine tissue. When I say endocrine, it releases the hormones directly into the blood. Okay, without any duct, it releases directly into the blood. So these two are very important for you to know, whereas these two you all definitely know it is present otherwise. Okay, so your HGC, that is human chorionic gonadotropin, and human placental lactogen, these are produced only during the pregnancy, whereas estrogen and progesterone, sorry, not progesterone, this is progestogens. Okay, they are derived progesterones. Okay, derived progesterones, we call it as progestogens. They are present during the other period also, but during pregnancy we are highlighting only this two, that is released from placenta. Okay, released from placenta is human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen. One mark question, expand HCG, expand HPL. You should be ready with the answer. So there are even others which we are not going in detail. We are studying only 4 at present which can be produced by placenta. So placenta produces all these 4. Okay, but I am saying during pregnancy special hormones are these 2 you can find. Rest of the time who is not pregnant you will not find these 2, but these 2 you will find. The ones who is not pregnant also you will find the estrogen and progestogens. Okay, so that's why remember your answer to be these 4 for hormones released by placenta, and placenta acts as endocrine tissue. So there is one more by ovary, that is relaxin, which is produced at the later phase of pregnancy, later on, the third trimester, not the first. So we are saying trimester 9 months, we are saying 333, the last trimester we are saying. Then see, I have written here only during pregnancy you will find relaxin. Of course, this is from ovary, and from placenta HCG and HPL. One mark question, only during pregnancy is these 3. Okay, you should be able to write it. Then what about other hormones? Other hormones are there: estrogens, progesterones, cortisols, prolactin, thyroxine, which is at high level, increased levels. Okay, in the mother's blood when she is pregnant. So these are all high level. Why they are needed in high level? Why it is on high level? It is shown here, essential for supporting the fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother, and maintenance of pregnancy. So when I say metabolic changes, she has to take care of her health as well as support the fetal growth. So she has to eat properly, and the hormones will see that the development of bones, development of proper enzymes are there, as well as the hormones are released at a proper amount. So all that is your metabolic changes, and hence it is maintaining the pregnancy. So you've understood why these that are present at high amount. Okay, these are other hormones present during the pregnancy. Otherwise also it is present during a normal woman who is not pregnant, but during pregnancy it is very high. Okay, very high. Why it is high? It is essential for fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother, as well as to maintain pregnancy. So we are coming to the embryo development. So embryo is, again we are saying that inner cell mass. Okay, so from that blastocyst, you know your inner cell mass. That inner cell mass will undergo gastrulation, neurulation processes. So as it undergoes the differentiation, it forms 3 layers. So gastrulation has 3 germ layers, or derm layers we say. That is ectoderm outer, middle layer mesoderm, inner layer endoderm. So this is your third stage where the gastrula is formed. The inner cell mass of blastula, blastocyst, produce 3 derm layers, that is ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Okay, so these three layers give rise to all organs. So not only organs, even your tissues. First is your tissues, then tissues form organs. Okay, that's why this inner cell mass is called as pluripotent. Okay, pluripotent, it can develop into any type of, let me just show you. You had come across that term. Okay, you'll come across that term somewhere. So I hope you've understood pluripotent. Don't worry, that is not there in your textbook. Only totipotent is asked. Pluripotent you should know. So we are talking about inner cell mass, that is pluripotent. I've written it here. I am unable to show the picture. But you all know where is inner cell mass. Right? I'm just showing the picture right now. This is your inner cell mass. This is your inner cell mass. The one layer is trophoblast. So inner cell mass is the one which is able to produce into organs. So which organs? First it will divide into 3 layers, 3 derm layers. That is your ectoderm, endoderm and middle mesoderm and inner endoderm, outer ectoderm. So once it has formed, so it will start producing particular organs. That is why particular organ is formed. It is called as your pluripotent status. When I say totipotent, I showed here totipotent. Because this cell, even zygote is totipotent. It can divide to produce the whole organism. The whole organism. When I say the whole organism, I am talking about this whole structure, including with your amniotic sac, amnion, chorion. It is the layers around the fetus. Okay. So coming to the stem cells, you should know this inner cell mass consists stem cells. So what is that stem cell? Potency to give rise to any types of cells, tissues, organs. So we are talking about pluripotent. Your inner cell mass is pluripotent in nature. That is, 1 mark question, what is stem cell? Pluripotent they won't ask. 1 mark question, a very important question, what is stem cells? Stem cells have the potency to give rise to any types of cell, tissue, organs in the body. What is totipotent? Totipotent means, so here pluripotent, here it is toti, T-O-T-I, totipotent. That means ability of the organism to develop into whole organism. Here pluripotent means only that cell or tissue or organs of a specific kind. Okay, so I hope you have understood. This is your definition which I have given here. 1 mark question, follow the definition. Now we are coming to the major events of embryonic development. So you know about the pregnancy that lasts for 9 months. So after 1 month of pregnancy, you can see the heart is developed. And in that 1 month itself, the first sign to identify the heart has developed is your heart sound. Okay, that is heard of the growing fetus using your stethoscope. And second month, end of second month, you will find the limbs and digits, your fingers, that are developed. Then end of 3 months, that is most of the major organ systems are formed. So what is that organ systems? Your limbs are completely formed. Your external genitalia is completely formed. They are well developed. Here it began, here it is well developed. Then 5th month, during the 5th month, there is your first movement. There is a mistake here, T is missing. Movement by the fetus. Okay, as well as along with your first movement, we can even find the hair on the head. So appearance of hair. This is during the 5th month. Then there is your 24 weeks. Body is covered with fine hair. Eyelids are separated. Eyelashes are formed. Okay, I hope you know what is eyelids. The one which you can close and open your eyelids there. Eyelashes is your beautiful lashes, we say. The hair like which you put mascara on it. So those are eyelashes. For those who do not know, I'm telling. Okay, so these are your features seen in the end of 24 weeks. Then end of 9th month, it is your completely developed fetus. Then we are talking about after the gestation period, there is your parturition process, which is called as your, in one word, delivery. In one, 3 words you can say, delivery of fetus. Okay, but if the question is asked, what is parturition? You should write this: vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of pregnancy, which causes expulsion or delivery of fetus. This is called as parturition. This is your definition according from the textbook. You can write only delivery of fetus, but this is very important. How it happens is needed. So that is in your definition we are saying that. So see that you are writing this answer for the 1 mark question, what is parturition. Let us understand what is that process. So you have understood what is that vigorous contraction. We say the labor, that is the labor pain, meaning to say there is your lot of pain during that contractions during the childbirth. Okay, so what is actually causing that? It is your neuroendocrine mechanism. When I say neuro, we are talking about the brain. Endocrine, you know about your certain endocrine glands. So when I say endocrine, even placenta is your endocrine gland now. So there are signals. Okay, so when the time is ready, a signal is sent. From where is that originated? Signal is sent to the brain. Okay, brain of the mother. But from where is the signal coming? It is coming from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. So this together is signaling to the brain of the mother. Okay, so once the brain gets the information, there is your initial mild uterine contraction. Okay, so that mild uterine contraction is created by the developing fetus and the placenta. Okay, so this is how it gets initiated, and that is called as fetal ejection reflex. So let me repeat. A signal is come from the fetus and the placenta. So how they are giving the signal? By giving mild uterine contractions. Okay, so remember, fetus, fully developed fetus and the placenta together induce mild uterine contraction, which is called as fetal ejection reflex. 1 mark question. And these signals are sent to the brain of the mother. So just see the process. Soon after fetal ejection reflex, from the pituitary gland of the mother, oxytocin is released. This oxytocin will come to the uterine tissue, especially to the myometrium. I hope you remember what is myometrium, the muscle. So it acts on the uterine muscle, and then this muscles undergo strong contractions. It's strong. Okay, so strong contractions occur. This strong contraction again stimulates the brain to release high amount of oxytocin now. So again it will produce more oxytocin and secretes till the uterine muscle. So once it reaches the uterine muscle, we are talking about the stimulatory reflex now. Once it is stimulated, again it is made to increase more. So what is that stimulatory reflex? Between the uterine contraction and the oxytocin secretion. Once there is your release of oxytocin and there is uterine contraction, strong uterine contraction, there is a stimulatory reflex. So this will again lead to the increase in the oxytocin secretion, which results in stronger. Previous one was only strong. Now it is stronger. So because of the increased oxytocin as well as stronger uterine contractions, it goes little more stronger. So it finally finally delivers the baby out. So after the baby is safely come out, after the baby is safe as through the process of parturition, then the placenta gets expelled. So that is also again with the help of contraction. Okay, so contractions play a role in first expelling the fetus, the complete developed fetus, and then it will throw off the placenta. The placenta has to come out, otherwise there are certain techniques where the placenta has to be removed from the uterus. So coming last to the lactation. So lactation, you remember mammary glands that are integrated with the female reproductive system. So whenever the pregnancy is marked, immediately signals are sent to the mammary glands to produce milk. But when the pregnancy has come to the end, the milk has to be now released, be ready at the nipple. So if one mark question is asked, what is lactation? You should be able to write production of milk at the end of pregnancy, okay, by the differentiation of mammary glands. So we are talking about end of pregnancy, there is your production of milk, okay, which is at high rate, and this is called as lactation. So it's a slow process. When the pregnancy begins, signal is sent to the breast, the mammary glands, to start producing milk. So that is why we say intake of proper food for the proper production of milk and antibodies. So once the milk is ready, that is at the end of pregnancy, the production of milk is almost ready. The first milk that comes out, okay, so it is as soon as the birth takes place, the parturition occurs, there is your production or the colostrum that comes out, and this it comes out for few days of the lactation period. So lactation period is soon after parturition, lactation begins. That is, the milk produces the mammary glands produce milk and it keeps secreting out. So that is why we say first few days it is the colostrum, which is yellowish in color. Why yellowish in color? Because it contains several important antibodies. Why antibodies? Because it can give resistance to the diseases in the newborn. The young one does not have antibodies, it cannot produce also. So it is a one way of providing through the mother's milk that your antibodies will be in the milk, which is in the first milk, that is colostrum. So it is produced in the initial days, the first few days of lactation. So I hope it is clear. This is all extra information, how the pregnancy and the milk production and all happens. So that's an extra information. And even about your parturition is shown. This is about your dizygotic and monozygotic twins. Understanding about the embryo structure, now you will get a better idea. Okay, so if you need to know more information, you have any doubts, let me know. And please answer to these questions. There are 2 sets, one is here. So totally there are 16 questions. Please answer them all and submit.